evolution has been met with a vast amount of controversy, and while many people feel as though they understand how it works, they actually don't. So today I would like to clarify for you the processes of evolution and how they really work. For evolution to occur, there must be some sort of variation existing within a given population. Evolution occurs as these varying genes are passed from generation to generation. Some people believe in an idea where characteristics are acquired through an organism's lifetime, but in actuality we're all born with our own genetics. And for example, we have the giraffe that has a really, really, really long neck. And it's not that giraffes needed to grow their necks during their lifetime, as much as they had varying lengths of necks, and the ones with the longer necks were able to survive better and were able to pass their longer neck genes down to their offspring, and then eventually they had longer neck offsprings, and all of a sudden you have like this ugly looking animal with long neck, that sort of thing. If a population doesn't have a gene that varies for a given characteristic, then it isn't possible for that characteristic to be to ever, come into that population. For example, a person's not really going to grow like an 11th finger unless, people will never grow an 11th finger unless there's a mutation or something where that actually benefits people. And there's also a theory called the Sociobiological Theory, where people think that social characteristics, such as like a fish being a loner or something like that, and like staying away from its school of fish, actually contributes to evolution, because it doesn't, it would be more susceptible to be prey to like sharks and stuff like that, rather than if it had stayed with its school. But that isn't true, because it's not a genetic variation, so it's not like a survival of the fittest kind of thing. It's actually a learned social behavior. And survival of the fittest is a term many people are mistaken about. The term gives the impression that the biggest, strongest individual is more fit, when it's actually the individual that's more fit for its environment that actually survives and then can reproduce and pass those genes on to its offspring. If an organism is smaller, it's probably a lot less susceptible to being eaten again by prey, rather than if it were big, because it can't be like seen like a mouse, for example, being seen by like a hawk or something like that, and therefore they can survive, and you have a bunch of little mice running around. And then there is the picture makes me laugh. Behaviorally, organisms also need to be fit in order to pass their genes on to future generations. A female won't mate with certain males if they don't meet her standards, and I'm sure everyone is aware of the various methods of courtship that different animals use to lure in their mates, like dancing and mating calls, and there's other like physical characteristics that that females need to be attracted to, or they won't mate with the male. This is called sexual selection, and those behavioral and physical characteristics contribute to the passing of genes from one generation to another. Species are formed through both genetic and behavioral methods. When an organism either can't physically reproduce or decides not to reproduce, or can't mate with an organism to produce fertile offspring, then they are considered to be of a different species. This can be caused by environmental barriers, mutation, or, again, behavioral factors. So technically a liger which everybody knows about, isn't a species because it can't reproduce, and that's why lions and tigers are of a different species. And there are two ways in which evolution progresses. One is called gradualism, where species gradually progress into their changed characteristics. And the other is called punctuated equilibrium, where species make these sort of drastic jumps into change, where in just one or two generations, like major variations take place and possibly contribute to speciation. Gradualism would be the one on the left, and punctuated equilibrium on the right. So to kind of show or give you guys a visual of how it works. So in review, variation needs to be present for evolution to take place. Survival of the fittest actually means survival of the fittest for their environment. And there's sexual selection where behaviors contribute to evolution. Species is formed when organisms diverge so that they can't produce fertile offspring anymore or simply won't mate. And even though I'm sure most of you aren't exactly thrilled by evolution, I hope I might have clarified some of the common misconceptions and shined some light on how it works. Thank you.
So Taylor, what did you think?
I thought the topic was interesting. It was, the diagrams went with some of the examples that he was talking about, or some of the topics he was talking about. What I saw he needed improvement in was like some of the, towards the middle of the speech, it was kind of rushed. It seemed kind of rushed. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. I want to start with a couple of things at the end of the speech first. I thought that you had a good summary of the material at the end, and in fact it was much clearer how things were organized at the end of the speech than it was at the beginning or during the speech. Because at the end, when you're summarizing, you're telling us what the points were, the three elements that are related to the evolution that you're talking about. Say, okay, looking back, I know he talked about all of those things, and now I can see that there is a structure to them. But while you were presenting it, I didn't get that, and there wasn't really a setup of that at the beginning. And so it just seemed sort of like you were just going from idea to idea to idea. And in the review, I think you helped yourself quite a bit by kind of imposing a structure on it afterwards. I also thought that you had a nice exit line, and it comes across pretty effectively. I think you need to work a little bit on confidence issues when it comes to delivering the speech, because maybe some of it's just the complication of having to adapt to the visual materials. But you've got material, you seem to know and understand it, but you're a little bit uncertain as you're going through it, and so it doesn't come across as smoothly as it might. I like the opening with the visual. You've got a very clear identification of topic. I thought you had a very good thesis statement. Like I said, what I thought was missing in the introduction was some kind of preview structure for the speech. Most of the things you did a good job on. I like the definition of the different characteristics that you talked about. I didn't really hear a lot of source citations, but it did sound like the material is being quoted from someplace, and you've got explanations that are usually pretty effective. Occasionally, I think you need an extra example, or you need to take some time with them. For instance, on the visuals, the one with the butterflies, you've got the punctuated and the gradualism that are being explained, but I'm not sure that the visual explains that by itself. You need to offer some explanation about what's going on there, and that was missing. And there were a couple other places where I ran into the same type of thing. All right, thank you very much.